Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Fed's Bullard. Fed policy to stay, quote, easy for a long time. The Federal Reserve's, quote, very aggressive, easy money policy is going to stay that way for a long time, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard told CNBC on Friday. This is a monetary policy that packs punch, said Bullard. Yeah, packs punch. A monetary policy that's devaluing the currency. A monetary policy that is letting these criminal bank operations keep running at the level that they are. Period, paragraph. As for the economy, quote, the amount of global economic uncertainty is way down from where it was last year, he said, adding that first quarter economic growth looks to be tracking at about 2.5%, following the negative reading in the fourth quarter. For the year, Bullard predicts GDP growth at 3%, though he acknowledged that he's on the optimistic side. Here's an elder, too, speaking up for all of us stupid people. Global economy and epic scale change, says IMF's Lagarde. If only the women were in charge. If only the women were in charge. Oh, she's a woman. Could have fooled me. Hey, take it easy, Christine. Or is it Christian? I'm not sure. Christine Lagarde's remarks show the damage done to emerging markets by a recent round of taper talk, isn't that nice, taper talk, over the possibility of the Federal Reserve slowing down the pace of asset purchases and their vulnerability to future changes in the pattern of global capital flows, led her to say, quote, the immediate priority is to ride out the turbulence as smoothly as possible. Isn't that nice to know? The immediate priority is to ride out the turbulence as smoothly as possible. Yeah. Currencies should be allowed to depreciate. That's right. Speaking for the whole world, you get it? It is the new world order. It's the banking order. Liquidity provisions can help deal with dysfunctional market behavior. Dysfunctional market behavior? How about a bunch of dysfunctional people like you and the rest of the people that have destroyed this economy? And hey, but that wasn't us. It was dysfunctional market behavior. That's right. That's why we have to cut the wages of everybody, cut their pensions, and raise taxes. And, Miss Lagarde continued, overall, the global outlook remains subdued. Son of a gun. In many of the advanced economies, however, we are finally seeing signs of hope. Yeah, hope. And change you could believe in. Growth is looking up. Financial stability is returning. And fiscal accounts are looking healthier. She said the U.S. showed the clearest signs of recovery. We see it all around us. Households are in better shape. You know what that is.
Warning, bullshit alert.
That's right. Household incomes are way down. But it doesn't make any difference, because she says it. If only the women were in charge. The housing sector is looking brighter. Yes, because interest rates are at record low. And when the tapering stops and interest rates go up, the economy goes down. She also pointed to improved growth in the Eurozone. Now, after 6 quarters of recession, the region came up for air last spring. And growth should be back in positive territory next year. Isn't that nice? Step right up, right this way. It's the greatest show on earth. It's one freak after another. Another carnival barker. All BS. All BS. Because the normalization of monetary policy affects so many markets around the globe, the U.S. has special responsibility to implement it in an orderly way, linking it to the pace of recovery and employment, to communicate clearly, and to conduct a dialogue with others. She called it mission critical regarding the tapering and the problems that the United States is having with the debt ceiling. So all you American citizens, you should know that the United States has a special responsibility. Not from the country that I come from, sweetie. The responsibility of America is for America. Capisce? And the big news, of course, is Bernanke attacks Capitol Hill over crisis role. The former chairman of the Federal Reserve is hit out at Congress for failing to do its part to bolster America's rebound from the financial crises. Former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke, he's out there selling his book. The book's name is The Courage to Act. The act of a coward. How about that I love these guys, man. The guy got a big job now, in one of these big firms on Wall Street. And now he probably got a load of dough to sell his book. Yep. The act of a coward who sold us out by bailing out his buddies. And remember when I was getting criticized by the mainstream media, and they did not want to hear it, when I said that there was going to be the panic of '08, well, guess what? They lied again. Well, they always do. Here he goes. In his newly published memoir, Ben Bernanke admitted the Fed had failed to spot some of the dangers building before the financial crash. Yeah, but boy, don't they get arrogant on how they're going to fix it. The ones that didn't see it coming lie that they said they saw it all the time and then do things that fix Ebola. And how about those equities? Well, here's the long and the short of it. U.S. equities closed sharply lower as concerns the Federal Reserve might raise interest rates this month. Following comments made by Fed officials, they're doing it again. Read your trend alert. The Fed fraud, it's a hoax. They're talking down gold. And in the meantime, they're talking down the markets, because the only reason the markets are staying strong is because of all the cheap money that they're flooding into it. Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren said in a speech, low interest rates are increasing the chance of overheating the U.S. economy. How could he say this with a string of recent lousy economic news and they get away with it? Hey, but you prostitutes, all you folks at the toilet paper a record, and the rest of them, when we put out the truth and we say anything that's factually correct and the trends follow it, you guys don't want to hear it. And when we get anything wrong because they rigged the game, you guys make a big deal of it. But here's a guy playing, I'm with the Federal Reserve, and puts out this total
bullshit detected. Take precautions.
That low interest rates are increasing the chance of overheating the U.S. economy as the job numbers stink, as productivity stinks, as GDP stinks, and what this guy's throwing out, man, it really stinks because it's...
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
That's right, and that's what it smells like. But they can get away with it. Today was the big day. Everybody was waiting. It was Fed speak. And today, for a change, the Fed did not speak.
bullshit alert.
Nope, no bullshit alert today. They came straight out. That's right, raised interest rates, just as everybody had anticipated. 25 basis points, that's all, not a big rise, so let's figure this out. 11 years, they raised rates 3 times, 25 basis points each. Not a lot. Actually, the real rate, when you put in inflation in there, it's still way down there, about 0. So, on that news, gold went up. I would have thought gold would have gone down. But no, the markets are not expecting much activity from the Fed. And the reason why is the Fed's forecasts for economic growth are just as bad as they are now and have been. So they're not looking for a lot of GDP growth. And they're looking like after 2019 to get it back up to around 3%. That's the Fed rate. So now you're just near 1%. So it's not going to cost a lot for car loans, for home mortgages. Yeah, the mortgage rate's going to go up. Refinancing's already happening. So on that news today, the Dow closed up triple digits, over 100 points. NASDAQ hit a fresh intraday high and closed at a record. So people were expecting a lot more hawkish statement from the Fed. It didn't happen. It's a slowdown. There's not a lot of activity, and yet the markets are still positive for both the Dow, the equities, and gold. This is Saturday's Wall Street Journal. Jobs data. Fed shift boosts markets. You saw that big spike in the Dow on Friday after the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, bowed to Trump. That's right. Trump, Powell. Trump said, quote, "We're listening sensitively," which I don't know what kind of language that is, "to the messages markets are sending. If we ever came to the conclusion that any aspect of our plans was causing the problem, we wouldn't hesitate to change it." And he said the central bank would be patient. Now let's get this straight. Jerome, you're the guy that was shooting his mouth off back in September, which isn't ancient history, how you were going to raise interest rates 3 to 4 times. That was the line that was being pushed out there in 2019. And now the bets are coming in. Investors bet Fed rates will stay put. Fed funds futures, which investors use to bet on the direction of Fed policy, showed a 91% probability that the Fed central bank policymakers will finish the year with interest rates at or below their current level. This is a reversal from early November when future prices indicated a 90% probability that rates would end 2019 higher than they are now. How could they get away with this crap? How could this guy and all those feds say they were going to raise rates and now backtrack? And you know what they backtracked on, don't you? That good news. The good news was jobs report reveals the addition of 312,000 jobs and non-farm payrolls in December. This came out Friday before the Fed chair spoke, marking a 10-month high and well ahead of the market's anticipation of 176,000 jobs. Adding to the good news, it also notes a 3.2% rise in average hourly earnings in 2018 from the prior year, the highest full-year gain in a decade. Hey, let's go back to February. Remember when the markets went down? How come? Because Powell, the Fed chair boy, was saying that the economy was strong and rates were going to go up aggressively. And that brought the markets down. So here he comes out and says rates, we're going to be patient. And then we're hearing from one Fed president after another saying that they're going to be patient, no need to raise rates, when they come out with strong data. A dynamic jobs growth and a better than average wage increase. The best in 10 years. All reasons to raise rates. I guess he bowed under Trump. Yep, that's what it looks like. So, our economic 9/11, current events form future trends. There's always the wild cards. We went with the facts that were given to us. And now, Jerome did it in public, backtracked, and got away with it. So, there's going to be more monetary methadone shot into the bull to keep it running. It's a different form of heroin. It's theirs. IMF, Lagarde. You know what the IMF is, right?
International Money Fund?
No, International Mafia Federation.
Oh, I got that wrong.
All right. She said that she sounded a warning yesterday that most countries would be unable to offset a downturn with lower interest rates and would instead need to make smart use of fiscal policies in the future. So they're worried about it's going to because they can't get any lower. The European Union, they have negative interest rates. Japan, negative interest rates. The United States is one of the few countries, the big countries, that have room to go down. So they're warning there, and World Trade Organization warns of strong headwinds, again, because of a slowdown in the economy. And of course, they're blaming trade tensions. But it's not trade tensions, because here's the deal. Here in the States, U.S. auto sales driven down by higher prices and interest rates.
What is the average price of a new car now in the United States?
God, I think it's around $36,000 for a car.
No wonder people can't afford them.
Yeah, I know. And then think about it. You're getting out of college now. That's on average, you got about $40,000, $38,000 worth of debt. I mean, what was it? You could buy a Cadillac like when I was a kid for like, what, $5,000, $6,000, you know? Yeah. You got it here. For example, GM said buying its redesigned Chevrolet Silverado and GMC Sierra pickup trucks sold out $8,000 more for the new trucks last quarter to around $48,000. Could you imagine that for a piece of what?
So if U.S. incomes aren't going up and the price of cars are going up, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, it doesn't. And these things, to me, they're over technology driven. And on the other end, remember what Lagarde said about lowering interest rates, not going to have an effect. It does have some effect in the countries that could do it. Weekly mortgage refinances spiked 39% after huge rate drop. How many times have we been saying that over and over and over? The facts are here, and that's why you have the Trends Journal. History before it happens, we were way ahead of this game.